Hi, I'm Leah Iridium. Hope everyone's doing all right today. So, Sunstorm have brought a new album out today called Afterlife. If anyone's not sure who Sunstorm are, a few years ago, must have been over 15 years ago, I would have thought, the first Sunstorm album came out with Jolene Turner as vocalist, and it was a project brought about because Jolene Turner had some songs apparently and ideas left over from a long time before for this album, and he brought them into this Sunstorm project, and it was one of the best AOR melodic hard rock albums of that genre. Absolutely fantastic album, the original album, Sunstorm. I think it was this self-titled album. I love it. I love everything about it. I think it's in that genre. It's one of the top albums without a doubt. He brought out another album afterwards, which was good. The next album was good. And then afterwards, a few albums for me that wasn't nowhere near up to scratch. But to tell you the truth, Jolene Turner would probably be the first person to admit that Sunstorm becomes something, well, he has in interviews and press releases. He said that it became something that it was never meant to be. It was this project that had a certain sound, and then over time, the albums didn't interest me at all. The first two were very good. They didn't interest me. But now Sunstorm have released a new album. Jolene Turner's out of the picture. Ronnie Romero of Rainbow is now in the band. I believe there's a lot of changes within the band as well. You've got Simone Mulleroni on guitar, Alessandro Del Vecchio on keys. He's also writing this album. Nick Mazzucconi on bass, Michelle Sanner on drums. So, I don't know who's come and gone, but I think there's a lot of changes within the members of the band as well from what it was originally. I'd be surprised if there's any members left, actually. So, this album's been out. Came out today. In the frontiers, in the press, they've been saying that the band wanted to go back to that original sound that the Sunstorm debut had, and the first couple of albums. Well, I'm sorry, but it isn't that sound. I mean, there's no way this has gone back in any shape or form back to that original sound. If anything, this has become a completely different sound. Now, I think what I've done, I've tried to listen to this album without comparing, and I'm thinking of this as a new project completely. So that's how I'm going to review it, because it's nothing like the first couple of Sunstorm albums. They are AOR classics with melodic heavy rock. This is more 70s a lot of the time, infused sort of Hammond organ sometimes a lot heavier than anything that came out of those first two albums, occasionally touching on the AOR sound of those first couple of albums. But to say this is going back is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. But anyway, getting off track a little bit. So there's a problem with this album, and I didn't mind the first couple of singles. I thought they was okay. And I was looking at them separately than Sunstorm, the original project, which I should have done. For me, this is a completely different sound, a completely different band. But there's a problem with this album after listening to it today, is that it's going to get lost in the plethora of releases this year, in the plethora of melodic hard rock, AOR type releases, classic rock, whatever you want to call them. It's got nothing that's going to push it and make everyone sit up and think this is an absolutely fantastic album, I'm afraid. I sort of had a fear that this was going to be like that, and I didn't want to judge. Like I said, the first couple of singles, I thought they was okay. I thought they was all right, good. And let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with the musicianship over this album. I think it's just songwriting is not going to push this right up there amongst the best releases of the year, and I can guarantee it. You can just see it a mile off. There's nothing on that. I've listened to it twice this morning. There's nothing, apart from a couple of songs, which I go through track by track, that really made me like think, oh, fuck, that's a good, oh yeah, that's really grabbed me, that. It's a shame. But, and one other thing I've got to say is Ronnie Romero. So obviously he takes a lot of stick in the press, which I don't agree with. He's got so much talent, this guy. But one thing I prefer him doing, and when he reaches up high in his higher register, I'm not so keen. So at times on this album, he sticks within the lower range before it builds up to him going to the higher range. And I prefer that. He's got a really good tone at the lower range. But when he reaches, you know, giving it that sort of attempted Ronnie Dio sort of shout, sort of like to the heavens, his tone puts me off a little bit. But listen, technically, he's brilliant. Sometimes it's tone with me with a vocalist, but there you go. So kicking off the album's Afterlife. Which is, I think it was the second single that was released. Quite a heavy sort of power metal sort of sound to it in places. Even a keyboard solo before it goes into the actual guitar solo itself. Like I said, very 70s feel sometimes, 70s-esque riff into this one. Quite a catchy chorus though, quite a nice chorus, you know, considering it's that sort of heavier song. I was, you know, as soon as I heard that the first time, that chorus got me straight away. So not a bad song to start off with. One Step Closer is the next one, track 2. More of an AOR track, this one. Like harking back a little to the earlier Sunstorm stuff. I like the verses in this one, but the chorus is just so predictable. It's like I've heard this chorus countless times over the last few years, but done a bit better most of the time. Swan Song was next, which was the first single. Quite a nice sort of rainbow-esque late 70s, 80s sort of feel to it at times. You know, all that sort of deep purple rainbow sort of feel, but with a more modern production. You know, we've even got that Hammond organ again going over this sort of thing. Nice soaring chorus to it, not a bad song. Next one, not too keen on at all. Born Again, again 70s sounding. The song is okay, but it doesn't go anywhere. Stronger's next. This is probably my favourite song on the album. So it's better when the band sort of slows things down. This is a sort of slow to medium paced song. Nice guitar melodies and very nice riffs as well on this one. So this is, I scored this one, or thought this one was like the best song on the album for me, Stronger. Next is I Found a Way. Back to that sort of classic rock sound again, the rainbow, deep purple. Romero sounds better on this one though. This is where he goes lower in his range at times. But trouble is, within every song, it builds up a certain way. So it start off in a lower register, which is nice. Then it'll go sort of up a bit, and then it'll build to the chorus or whatever, and he's soaring, and then it gets to me with that, you know, that certain tone, which I don't like too much. It does much better in the lower range for me. Lost Forever is next. Nice piano beginnings. This is a ballad. It's got like piano running through it. It's a good ballad, but again, nothing really sticking out. You know, another release is brought out today, which I'll be reviewing later on. That's got a ballad on it. I don't want to say the band, but that's got a ballad on it, and it hit me. It was something special. This one is like, yeah, it's all right. That's about it. Far From Over is next. Now, nice riff kicking this off, but it sounds just like, and I'm not saying they knew anything about it, because this was probably made during the same time, but it's just got a resemblance to the Wet song. I think it's How Do I Know off of Retransmission, but where the Wet song really goes somewhere, and it's one of the best, probably the best song on that album, and actually fantastic AOR melodic hard rock song. This one falls a bit flat, I'm afraid, apart from that riff. Next is Here For You Tonight. AOR, more sound to this. Again, nothing that really grabs me. Soulless, if you like. You know, it's not sticking out to me. I know when I'm hearing this that it's, like I said, it's just going to get lost in the amount of albums that even Frontiers alone are going to bring out this year. This will be middle road, if not lower. Darkest Night is next. A nice sort of fun feel to this. This is like a real cool AOR summer song. This is more 80s sounding. This has probably got more of the sound of that Sunstorm, you know, debut, and I think it was House of Dreams, wasn't it, the second album. Again, Romero not singing in his lower range during parts of this, which is so much better. It's just, when he goes to that higher range, it's not grating or anything. It's just the tone. It doesn't grab me. And the last song is A Story That You Can Tell. This is more going back to the 70s again, that Hammond organ sort of sound with guitar, you know, Hammond organ with guitar at the same time, that rainbow sort of purple feel. Not the best song on the album by a long stretch. I think probably the best songs on here are Stronger and Darkest Night. Probably my favourite songs on the album. But, you know, even those songs, they're not going to be on my playlist come, you know. So I've got a 2021 playlist, which I'm repeating over and over again, and I'll be doing it throughout the year, and I'll be playing it constantly through the year, so it gives me a good idea of where I'm going to rank these albums, and that'll stay on it all the way through 2021, so I can listen to it really good. And you never know, some of these albums that I'm thinking now are at the top could go lower, some of that are at the bottom could go higher in my rankings. So this will stay on my list, but at first listen, you know, this won't be going on my all-time list, because at the end of this year I'll be putting some of those albums on my all-time list, and they'll join that list to be heard all the time. I don't think this is going to be one of them, I'm afraid. I hate giving any negative reviews. I don't usually do it. But, you know, this Sunstorm are not an unknown band. If I'm doing an unknown band or someone who's just trying to make it, it's a debut album, and I don't like it, I won't usually review it. I won't say anything negative, and I won't review it at all. Rather than say anything negative, I'll just leave it, just to let all you bands out there think I'm ignoring you. It's probably because there's something on it that I don't like. Now, I will only review albums from unknown artists that I like. And I think that's fair, because you're trying to make it in the music business. Now, these guys are not trying to make it in the music business. You know, Ronnie Romero sings for Rainbow, for fuck's sake. And you've got all these other guys that are talented musicians, without a doubt. So they can, you know, at times you've got to take a little bit of criticism. And I just think that this album just comes and goes without any feeling. There's no feeling in the album. You know, like I said, those first couple of singles, I thought, yeah, that was okay. That was pretty good standalone. When you're listening to this album all the way through, it's very hard not to skip it. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign whatsoever. So, not so good this time, but, you know, maybe they'll rethink it. Maybe especially the style of music it is. You know, I think they need to change. Maybe, I think, you know, Ronnie Romero probably does fit well in with that classic rock sound, but they shouldn't have advertised this as something that it's not. It's definitely not going back to the fucking Sunstorm sound, the original Sunstorm sound, and that Sunstorm sound, and that's not fair to say. You know, I don't know what the fucking story was. Jolene Turner wants to go on to do heavier stuff, and we're going to go back and do the more AOR type. That's bullshit. This is not AOR at all. This is more 70s heavy rock, at times power metal sometimes. But when they do slow it down to the AOR type stuff, perhaps Ronnie Romero ain't the right fit for this band altogether. But he's a talented guy, there's no doubt about it. But that's just my opinion. Hope you like the review. Please let me know what you think of the new Sunstorm album in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.